If you have these 5 traits, you've suffered too much. Some scars are visible, the jagged lines carved into our skin that tell of battles fought and survived. But other scars run deeper, hidden beneath the surface, shaping how we view the world and ourselves. Suffering leaves marks, not only on the heart but on the very essence of who we are. If you've endured a lot, you recognize it not by the scars you bear, but by the qualities you've forged. These traits become your armor and weapon, your way of navigating a world that's revealed its sharp edges. Have you ever wondered why you care so deeply, even when it causes pain? Why you insist on doing everything on your own, even when help is offered? Why you pursue perfection as though it's the only thing that brings peace? Or why you protect your emotions like precious treasures, untouched by anyone? Maybe you've felt the need to control everything, fearing that without it, the world might fall apart. These aren't just oddities. They are the marks of suffering, the fingerprints of pain that won't fade. This isn't about seeing yourself as broken. It's about realizing how life's struggles have shaped you, making you both resilient and gentle, cautious yet bold. Each of these traits tells a story of silent battles fought, victories won in the shadows, and resilience that never gives up. Let's explore these 5 powerful traits of those who have endured so much. Perhaps in their description you'll find pieces of yourself or someone you love and begin to see that even in the pain there's an undeniable beauty. 1. Heightened empathy. There's something remarkable about people who have walked through fire and emerged not unscathed but transformed. Their hearts seem to resonate at a different frequency, like instruments finely tuned by suffering. They feel everything deeply. They can see pain that others ignore, hear cries that others brush aside, and recognize when a smile is merely a fragile mask. Heightened empathy is their gift, though it often feels more like a curse. Imagine standing in a crowded room, and instead of hearing casual conversations, you're overwhelmed by unspoken pain. That's what heightened empathy feels like. It's walking into a friend's house and knowing instantly from their posture that they've had a rough day. It's sensing the weight behind a single word, or catching the flicker of sorrow in someone's eyes. It's the ability to inhabit another person's world without an invitation, to feel their wounds as if they were your own. But empathy isn't free. Those who possess this carry an emotional burden, a fatigue that sleep can't erase. It's as if the world's sorrows gather in their soul. They become the ones who stay late at work, sensing their colleagues' struggles. They're the ones who lend money they can't afford, because they understand what desperation feels like. They're the silent heroes, but who heals the healer? The truth is, their heightened empathy comes from their own pain, nights when they felt invisible, and mornings when they woke up still yearning for someone to understand. Their empathy is an unspoken promise: I will never let anyone feel as alone as I once did. 2. Hyper-independence. I don't need anyone. It's the mantra of the hyper-independent. On the outside, it may seem like a badge of honor, a symbol of strength, but look deeper, and you'll uncover the scars hidden beneath that defiance. Hyper-independence isn't born from confidence, it's forged by betrayal, abandonment, and the moments when help never came. Hyper-independence in the small things looks like carrying all your grocery bags in one trip, even when your arms ache, fixing the sink yourself instead of asking for help, refusing to let anyone see your struggle. But it also shows up in the big things, saying no to relationships because vulnerability feels too risky, or refusing to ask for directions, even when you're hopelessly lost. It's the person who's already on their feet before anyone can offer a hand, who shrinks from words like "let me help you," as though they sting. They've learned through bruising experience that relying on others often leads to disappointment, and so they've built fortresses around themselves, with walls too high to climb and gates locked from the inside. Hyper-independence feels like strength, but oh, how heavy it is to carry everything alone. It's not that you don't want connection, deep down, you crave it, but vulnerability feels like a risk you can't afford to take. It's terrifying. What if they drop you? What if they leave? After all, you've been let down before by people who swore they'd stay by promises that dissolved like smoke. So you keep going, convincing yourself that you're better off alone. But are you? Or is it just easier to pretend you don't need anyone, rather than risk being hurt again? Hyper-independence is your armor, but it's also your prison. You've mastered self-reliance to the point of fault, confusing it with safety. And yet, in the quiet moments when no one's watching, you might whisper a question to yourself: what would it feel like to finally lean on someone? 3. Persistent strive for perfection. There's a thin line between ambition and perfectionism, and for you, that line vanished long ago. The outside world, you seem driven, focused, relentless, but inside, it's a storm. Perfectionism isn't about being the best, it's about quieting the voice in your head that hisses you're not enough. You rewrite texts 3 times before sending them, double-check every detail at work, and can't rest until everything is just right. But no matter how much you achieve, it never feels like enough, does it? There's always that nagging thought: if I just tried a little harder, maybe. But maybe what would the world finally see you? Would the doubts finally vanish? When you were younger, maybe you were taught, through words or actions, that you had to earn love, that your worth was conditional, and so, you learned to excel, to outperform, to make yourself indispensable. If you could just be perfect, maybe you'd finally feel safe. Perfectionism is a survival strategy, a way to regain control when life feels out of control. If you can make everything flawless, maybe you can outrun the fear of failure. But here's the cruel joke. Perfection doesn't protect you. It just wears you down, robbing you of joy and trapping you in a cycle of self-doubt. The goalpost keeps moving and you keep chasing, too afraid to stop and ask yourself why. 4. Emotional guarding. Don't let them see you cry. How many times have you whispered that to yourself, biting the inside of your cheek to hold back the tears? Emotional guarding is your fortress, built brick by brick. With every betrayal, every dismissal, every time someone used your vulnerability against you, you've learned to smile through the pain, to say I'm fine even when you're falling apart inside. You've mastered the art of redirecting conversations, of shifting the subject when things get too personal. It's easier to be the one who listens than the one who talks, isn't it? Because talking means opening up, and opening up means risking being hurt again. But here's the thing about walls: they don't just keep the pain out, they also keep the love out. You've locked yourself away so tightly that even those who truly care can't get in. You tell yourself it's for the best, that it's safer this way. But late at night, when the world is quiet, don't you wonder what it would feel like to let someone see the real you? 5. Desire for control. Control is your anchor in a world that feels unpredictable and chaotic. You double-check every lock before bed, triple-check your schedule, and feel a surge of panic when plans change at the last minute. It's not about being picky or rigid, it's about feeling safe. Control is how you keep the chaos at bay, how you protect yourself from feeling powerless again. But control is a double-edged sword. It can provide comfort, but it can also become a trap. You may struggle to delegate tasks, fearing that no one else will do them right. It stops you from taking risks, from embracing spontaneity, from letting life surprise you. You micromanage because the idea of letting go terrifies you. What if everything falls apart? What if you end up back in that dark place you fought so hard to escape? And yet, beneath their need for control lies a fragile truth that you've been at the mercy of forces beyond your control before, and you're determined never to feel that helpless again. Control is your way of saying never again. But in your pursuit of order, you risk missing out on the beauty of life's unpredictability. Perhaps the greatest act of courage for you would be learning to let go, to trust, to surrender, to believe that not everything needs to be planned to be perfect. Conclusion: if these traits resonate with you, it's not because you're broken. It's because you've survived. These traits are the armor you've forged in the fire of your struggles, the tools you've used to navigate a world that hasn't always been kind. But armor gets heavy, doesn't it? And tools, while useful, aren't meant to be clutched forever. What would happen if you started to let go? If you let someone see your scars instead of hiding them, if you allowed yourself to stumble without the fear of judgment? You've already proven your strength that you're here, aren't you? Maybe now it's time to prove something even harder: that you can let go of the weight you've been carrying and finally give yourself permission to heal.